A linear function is just a particular type of function machine in which I plug the input x into my function machine, and I take that input, multiply it by a particular value m, and then add a value b. So whatever my input is, I multiply it by some number and then add a constant b. This means that I can be given any type of linear pattern and I can write a function rule to describe that pattern, just like I wrote an equation to describe the pattern. So I could be given a situation, a tile pattern, a table, or a graph, and instead of writing a equation, y equals mx plus b, I'm just going to indicate that my output is a function of x, that I'm talking about a linear function, and I'm going to write f of x equals mx plus b. On this toolkit, we're just looking at linear situations, but we could also look at a linear table or a linear graph or a linear tile pattern, and I could write a function rule in the form mx plus b. So my first situation, Logan has logged 1,450 hours on Fortnite. He plays 55 more hours each week. I know this is a linear function because I have a constant rate of change, 55, which is the number of hours he plays each week, and so my function rule will just be f of x equals 1,450 plus 55x. Or I could write f of x equals 55x plus 1,450. I'm just using everything I learned in my linear unit, just instead of writing y equals 1,450 plus 55x, now I'm writing f of x equals, just using f of x for my output. Two different questions I could be asked. I could be asked to find, for example, f of 10, meaning I'm being told that the input is 10, or I could be asked to find x given the output f of x. If I'm asked to find the output given an input of 10, that means I just plug in 10 for x. F of 10 is 1,450 plus 55 times 10. Not a lot of space here, but I'm just going to evaluate my function rule for x equals 10. Let's see, 1,450 plus 550 is 2,000. When I'm asked to describe the meaning, I don't mean mathematically. I don't mean given an input of 10, the function f gives me an output of 2,000. What I mean, and I do not have space to write this, is after 10 weeks, Logan has played or logged 2,000 hours on Fortnite. So given this linear situation of adding 55 more hours a week, the input of 10 weeks gives me an output of 2,000. F of 10 equals 2,000 tells me after 10 weeks, 2,000 hours of Fortnite. Here, I'm being given the output, so I need to plug in my output for f of x. So 1,945, again, I apologize, there is not enough space here. 1,945 equals 1,450 plus 55x. Now I know the output, I just need to solve for the input. Let's see. 495 equals 55x. Using a calculator, 495 divided by 55. That is just x equals 9. So given an input of 9, my output is 1,945. The meaning, which you do not have room to write, is after 9 weeks, he has played 1,945 hours of Fortnite. Here's two examples that you can do yourself. Pranathi has 65 pieces of gum. She chews 5 pieces of gum each day. Define my variables just like I did in my linear unit. My input is days. My output is pieces of gum left. Since she's chewing gum, she's decreasing. She has a constant rate of change that is negative. And then my function rule is just f of x equals 65 minus 5x. Since I'm being given the number inside the parentheses, that means I'm being given a value of x. I'm being told x is 4. So I'm just going to plug in 4 into my function rule. F of 4 equals 65 minus 5 times 4. 65 minus 20, which is just 45. Luckily, it does not say describe the meaning because I do not have space. But the meaning of the statement f of 4 equals 45 is after 4 days, Pranathi will have 45 pieces of gum remaining. Second example, Drew has 53 pet penguins. He adopts 1 new penguin each year. Defining my variables, my input is years. My output is number of pet penguins. So just like I would have done in my linear unit, I find the start value, which is 53, the rate of change, which is 1, and I write my equation. Just now I'm calling my equation a function rule. Instead of y, f of x, 53 plus 1x, or just plus x. For both of these, I could have written f of x equals negative 5x plus 65, f of x equals x plus 53. I'm asked to find x if f of x equals 57. So that means I'm being given the value of the output and asked to find the input. Ooh, what a great function rule. I'm using, that is an x, I'm using inverse operations to solve. My input is just 4. So f of 4 equals 57. That means given an input of 4, my output is 57. The meaning in terms of the situation is after 4 years, Drew will have 57 penguins.